When is a standard not a standard? Well, when it comes to this machine. My name is Jess B. This is my tech department. Los Gates.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now, it won't have escaped your attention that we are sponsored by PCBWay, but what makes PCBWay so special? Well, let's take a look. For example, the replacement ROM PCB for this Atari 800XL, well, I got it made by PCBWay. But PCBWay do, well, way more than PCBs. For example, when it comes time to remake this panel for a project that's coming up later this year, well, I'll be looking at PCBWay to do the milling. In fact, if you've got a project on the go, chances are PCBWay can help you out, from 3D printing to CNCing to full fabrication. PCBWay, way more than just PCBs. For more information, check out the link in the description below. There are lots of things I love about the MSX system. The idea that you could bring in a standard that would bring order to the 8-bit chaos that was the 1980s is great. And it led to a vast variety of manufacturers creating a variety of machines, all to one standard, but at the same time were each as different as they were similar. Except when it comes to this machine. This machine looked at that standard and went, nah. I introduce you to the Philips NMS801. The Philips NMS801 was very much late to the 8-bit party, arriving in Italy in 1989. It's a very basic and, well, very cheap machine. Bundled with a data recorder, a joystick and 50 games, that was it. This machine was designed to be a last gasp for the MSX line of machines. At the back, well, things are a bit basic. There's a recorder slot, some joystick ports, and not much else, if I'm honest. Especially for an MSX machine. The reset switch is left uncovered. I thought that was broken. No, that's how that comes. Then there was room for a TV modulator crammed into the case next to the two joystick ports. There's a connection for the cassette deck and a built-in SCART lead that you can't take out, and that's a very basic SCART lead at that. Finally, there's a connection for a 10-volt AC power supply, and that's the back of the machine. And if you know MSX machines, well, there are a few bits missing. Turning to our built-in SCART lead, well, it's very basic. It doesn't even have all its pins, just the basics to make the machine work. It's also a little bit rusty. Great. The joystick, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it is so loose and waggly and, well, cheap. There's a theme here. I do like the look of the keyboard. Its bright red switches with the white is kind of cool, and the big friendly multicolored computer sign, well, that's peak 80s, isn't it? It's very Peter Engel. And someone's written down on top, well, all the commands. So someone actually used this machine in, well, anger, or for fun, probably. Although I suspect anger wasn't too far away. Especially when you hit this keyboard. It's, ew. The keys are sticking. So it'll have to be disassembled and see if I can try and get it to, well, not be sticky. Look, the A is stuck down. This is going to be fun. I know. Finally, there's the pièce de résistance, the MSX compatible label. What does it mean? Well, it's not as MSXy as it could be, but what does that mean in practice? Well, it turns out quite a lot. So, on a standard MSX machine, you will have a cartridge port missing from this machine. There's also a printer port missing from this machine. On top of that, internally, it's not even MSX compatible. So even this is a bit of a lie because, and this is as far as I understand it, MSX machines require an extra wait state for the Z80 processor. This machine, however, decided to do away with that, which is a timing issue, which means that some MSX software will suffer from graphical glitches because the timing's out. So it's not MSX compatible on the inside. It's not built to an MSX standard, but apparently it is MSX DOS compatible. Except of course, it's not. It's not compatible with MSX DOS because there's no disk drive port to hook up a disk drive to. Honestly, what were Philips thinking when they made this? What I can tell you is that I know this machine doesn't work. That was made clear in the advert. There was a picture of it loaded up with power and no picture on the screen. Although I have an idea about what may cause that. Come on. So, what could be the problem that's stopping our machine from starting? Well, it may be fairly simple, and I think it'll be this power supply. Now, in the advert, the guy showed the machine kind of displaying an image, but not quite. And if this is the power supply they sent with it and tested with it, then I can understand why. If you look at the back of the machine, it says it needs 10 volts AC. This is a 9 volt DC power supply and only about 300 milliamps. Now, on average, a machine like the MSX will take 700 to 800 milliamps, a little more occasionally, but generally you're okay in that ballpark. And honestly, there's not a lot in that machine, so I wouldn't expect more than about 700 to 800 milliamps anyway. 300 milliamps is enough to get an image on the screen of something, but not enough for the machine to work properly. Fortunately, I discovered I have a 9 volt 1 amp AC power supply. I've even put it in nice big friendly old person letters for myself so I could read it because I'm fed up going. But this should be fine. Even though it's only 9 volts instead of 10, there should be enough current going through this to power our machine. So why don't we plug it in and take a look and see if we actually get a picture. Come on. Okay, so I've done my best to attune it so that you can't see the flicker. I'm seeing flicker on the camera, but not on the screen. Hopefully it'll be okay. And I think, no, that's there we are. Let's see if we get anything out of this. Black screen. Philips MSX version 3.0. Well, look at that. It works fine. It actually works fine. The keyboard, on the other hand, I wonder if that works. Let's take a look. Escape. All right, oh, I'm getting a noise. 1, 2. I must say, this is the worst keyboard I've ever used. It is so sticky. Oh, and it's so cheap. This bouncing as I type on it. But it seems so far that all the keys are working fine. Let's do a little shifting. Yeah, okay, good. I think that's caps lock. Yeah. Space works. That graph and code. I don't know if I can do anything with that. Yeah, nothing I can do with that. How about our keys here? Oh, I seem to have inadvertently hit run there, so we'll assume the function keys work. Come on, give it back. Clear. Cursor keys work. Yeah, actually that keyboard, despite its horrendous action, is actually working. So it looks like all we've got to do is fix the keyboard and just give it a bit of a clean. Well, that's something. I suspect we'll learn a little bit more of what exactly this machine, or who exactly this machine is for, because at the moment I'm still perplexed as to why it exists at all. Oh, and yeah, come on. So since this machine doesn't need that many repairs, or apart from the keyboard, I'll work here on the table rather than the workbench. This should be simple. So let's flip it over, and I mean, you can appreciate there is very little to this machine. This, I mean, that's the back of the keyboard, so there's nothing there. These feet, I think we'll take those off. Appreciate them being there and all, but, you know, and it looks like we've just got 4 screws, so let's take off one here. one here. And, oh, actually, when I said 4 screws, I meant 2 screws. Apparently, that's it. Okay. So let's flip it over and see if the cover comes off. So, yeah. Oh, I feel like there's a plastic clip somewhere. There we go. And, oh, dear God. Right, well, that's interesting enough. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is our TV modulator. Now, this is not the first model of NMS800. The original 800 didn't come with a TV modulator. It just had the SCART out. This was a late edition, and it shows because it's, well, apparently it's just meant to be glued in the top of the case. And, yeah, that's failed. Good Lord. This does not look like a well put together machine. Let's see if we can get the keyboard out of the way as well. So the keyboard is there. Okay, hang on then. All right, so here's our keyboard. Right, I think actually it seems to be stuck. Lord, what? Tell you what, take this out of the way first. It would rather not come out. Oh dear. All right, modulator out of the way. Well, the pain in the neck that was. So it appears that the keyboard is just clipped in the bottom. Oh dear. Okay. How the hell am I going to get this out now? All right. So apparently to get this out, I have to do this. I'll push that and my hand underneath, and I feel like something just broke. Same here. That was definitely a clip going. Great. There we go. Got him out. And the motherboard is just falling out as well. Oh my God. Okay. All right, hang on. All right, so let's be in the no illusions. This is cheap. Here's the keyboard. There are no springs. There's one clip for the space bar and just this floppy bit of plastic. So let me just see if I can take one off gently. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, I'm sorry, that is so cheap. That is the cheapest, easiest way you can imagine to do this. Look at that. There are 2 springs, or 2 pieces of plastic that hold the switch in place, and you just put it on, and you kind of rely on a lack of friction to help them pop back up. And then it literally just pushes on the membrane there. That's horrendously cheap. On top of that, the case itself, well, we lost one of the clips for the keyboard, and yeah, that's it. 2 screws, that keyboard clip broke, but I mean, they take a lot of force to loosen them off. Honestly, this is quite possibly the worst, cheapest computer I've ever seen. I'm even now more confused as to why this exists. For now, let's see if we can sort out the keyboard. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to strip the keys down, give them a good wash, and give this plastic, let's call it a frame, a good wash, and see if we can add some silicone oil to there, because that won't harm the plastic, and hopefully that will make it easier to pop up. See, shift button gets it. Oy. Well, here we are, the machine is back together. A few things I did off camera, reseating the modulator inside. I just used some 2-part epoxy. That's not coming off. Probably that was the most difficult thing to do with this build, because generally the machine was working. But is it still working? Well, let's turn our TV on. I have to be really careful and point at that and not that one, because apparently this works that as well. Shouldn't, but it does. And we're going to get it up, and we're going to see about getting it into SCART mode. So there we are, got our source, and I'm going to plug this in at the back. And Philips MSX version 3, which, as we've discussed earlier, is a bit of a lie. A lot of this computer is a lie, but the one lie we need to know now is it still working? Does the keyboard still work? And the answer is, well, yeah. Actually, it now works better than it did. I mean, the keys come back up. The spacebar is horrible, and they do seem to catch a little bit down here on this bottom row, but that's because the keyboard slips against the case. Let's be fair and say this poor MSX machine here is not the best computer in the world. Now, I did say I would look at the joystick as well that came with it, and I did, and I found the problem was it's just a poorly made joystick. There's nothing actually wrong with it, it's just, well, rubbish. A bit like this machine, it's rubbish. It's made as cheaply as possible. But I have to ask, why? By 1989, this machine was already outdated. The MSX2 standard had come in by then, which would have made a nicer machine for the home, but even then, that would be 8-bit. The 16-bit machines were already appearing. 89, you've already got the Atari ST. The Amiga 500 is also starting to make inroads into the home market. Why on earth would you go back to a design from the early 80s? The answer is, if this was Hollywood, I would say for the licensing. You know, when you do things like make a Fantastic Four movie just to keep the license. However, in this respect, I think it was simply just to make a quick buck. The Philips NMS801 is not a good computer. The keyboard is made as cheaply as possible. The board isn't even made by Philips, it's made by a British company. It's MSX compatible, not an MSX. And on top of that, the case itself is just taken from another model. I think it was called the TMS 3000, which was a Philips video console kind of thing. I think UK Prestel, that kind of thing, you know, where you'd hook it up to your TV and it would talk via the phone line, and that's all, you know, that's it. And that machine, by the way, had a much better keyboard than this. This can only have been made for a quick cash grab, which is a real shame. And it's aimed, obviously, as they say, a fool and their money are easily parted. And that's what this machine's purpose was, to part a fool from their money. It's 89, the kids keep going on about the computer. Oh, this one is cheap. I'd wager this barely sold for €100. You get this, you get a data recorder, you get all the cables you need connected up to the machine, and you get 50 games. Well, it's a bargain, isn't it? Except the only thing it'll ever be able to do is play those 50 games. There's no more expansion choice on this. And as we've discussed earlier, the way the board is made, which makes it MSX compatible and not MSX standard, means that other software originally designed for the MSX may not work properly on this, with plenty of graphical glitches, all due to not having that one wait state for the Z80. And that's a real shame, because it means that when this machine left the factory, it was already e-waste, which makes me all the more happy to have it in my collection, because how many of these do you think sold? I would wager not a lot. And those that did sell, well, they may have ended up in the bin fairly quickly, within a year, I'd imagine. And I imagine the ones that do survive are the ones that are put in the garage, in the loft, or just plain forgotten about. And who could blame them? It's just a terrible computer. There's no getting around it. It is a terrible computer. But it's a terrible computer that is working. And you may have noticed I've cleaned the top of it. It looks very nice. But to remember it by, I made sure we put a sticker on the back there to... Well, that looked promising, didn't it? All that's left to say now is thank you so much for watching this video. I enjoyed making it and I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did enjoy watching it, please consider giving us a like, a share, a subscribe. And if you would like to help out the channel in any other way, well, we have a little Ko-fi account down the bottom there where you can buy me a one-off coffee. I live in Vienna. This city runs on coffee, so a cup of coffee once in a while is greatly, greatly appreciated. All that's left to say now is, well, when it comes to old machines like this Philips NMS801, remember to reuse, rediscover and repair, because you never know. You might find your very own MSX compatible machine that will amuse the hell out of you, which is probably more than it did for the people who bought this. My name is JSP. This has been my tech department. Cheers. Come on, you. Let's put you to bed. All right, I'll take it.